I really like this late evening look. The sun is really low on the sky. It creates all these long shadows in the background. The light is really warm, and the other window is creating this really nice glow on my face. And also some reflected light creates this really nice rim light on my head. It looks magical. And to create the cinematic motion, so to preserve 180-degree shutter angle, I have to use 4 stops of ND, and that's the look it's created. But is it all the sun though? The light in the background is actually really strong CCT light, which is outside. This nice glow on my head is another quite powerful light over my head. And the key light is just a panel, which seems to emulate the other window. And even though the lights are from 2 different manufacturers, I can still control them both on my tablet without the sweat. And that's the look they create. I especially like this light outside the window, which emulates the evening sun. The funny thing is that this light is quite small, as you can see, but it is powerful enough to go through 4 stops of ND and still create this powerful sun look. And also this light is so light that I have just one shot back on the legs of the C-stand, and I'm not afraid this is going anywhere because it's really sturdy. This is so dark in light. But what if it's already evening? As you can see, it's already blue hour and there is no much light coming through the window. Can I give some oomph to the background? So again, I have a key light to my left, the hair light above my head, and there is some background light, which I think also looks good. And since it's a bicolor light, I can actually dial the color temperature and I can create the look I want. It could be cooler than my face, or it could be warmer than my face. And at the moment this light is actually running at just half the power with a reflector, and it creates kind of hard shadows, as you can see, especially on the frames and the TV. The shadows are quite hard because there is a reflector. So can I make it a bit softer? Let me try. Now it should be much softer because now it is with a lantern. Although since it's a bigger modifier, then it's a bit dimmer, but since I've been using only half the power, I can still change it, and now it is much brighter, even though I'm still using these 4 stops of ND. And with the lantern I can still change the color temperature of the background, and that could be really cool light, or that could be really warm light. Although it does not match the window, I think the warmer look emulates the practical, and I can actually probably put the practical there. Let me try. Now I have a practical in the background, and actually you probably think that this light is bringing the ambient light to the background, but it is actually something different because this practical is really dim, especially if I have 4 stops of ND on my camera. What if I bring the other light, which is motivated by the practical? That's the look The practical is probably a bit cooler than the light, which is motivating, so that's why I can change the temperature of the light which is outside the frame. And this is the look. And also something creates now this edge light on my face. I think that the lantern is actually putting a really nice strip of light here. So it has double purpose. It is an edge light for my face, and also it is the fill light for the background. Now it's more believable, I think, when this dimmer, you can like 99% believe that this is practical in the background, which is lighting the room in the background. The main question is this light audible? Because some people claim that it is very loud light. So this is when it is at full power at 300 watts, and I can actually overdrive this to 500 watts, and then it will be a bit louder. But we have to wait a bit for the fun to ramp up. Now it's at full speed, and the question is it really audible being like 3 meters away in the background, or you can live with it using just a lav mic? I don't know, I can hear it now. It's not very loud, but it's audible for me. But the question is it audible for the mic, and how bad it is? But I can always... Now it is actually probably at 100%, and the question is how audible it is. But in this scenario, probably it is bright, probably it is too bright anyway. And if you are not using the ND filters, you could run this at 25%, so it would be probably almost silent. So now I have turned off the overdrive mode to see how loud it is. Of course, I have to wait like a minute for the light to cool down. And now it is actually much quieter, almost not audible from 3 meters. And since this light is very small, it can go into really tight corners, and it is also very light. So I just have one shot back on the stand. It's like overkill for this light, but for safety measures I always have a shot back, but it's not going anywhere even with this quite big 65 centimeters modifier, and the light itself is really tiny, and it is running at 100%, but I'm like 20 centimeters from the light. Probably now it is audible, but it is only up to 36 decibels of loudness, so it is actually as loud as Aputure 600D or GVM 650B Pro or any other light. Even the ballast from Godox 600BI is a bit louder than this. Okay, so I'm back again. This is the same setup as yesterday, although the sun is now to my left, because it's a morning and this is the east side of my house. So the light in the window is the real sun, although it is quite cloudy at the moment. The sun is shining through and I'm blinded for the moment. So this light is from the sun. I'm using 4 stops of ND because it is cloudy, although maybe now I should use 5 stops to eliminate the sun completely, although it is probably not a big deal. I can actually close the blinds to eliminate that light, but what is the lighting setup. So I have a hairlight above my head. The problem might be that this hairlight creates a highlight on the chair, but other than that, it is nice hairlight and rim light. And maybe I'm even running it too high. So now it is at 60%. And in the background, there is a practical, but motivated by that practical is a background light. And now it seems kind of believable that the practical is illuminating the background. Maybe the window is not that believable. Maybe that should be something in between. Maybe something like that would be more believable, that you got mix of the lights. So there is a light from the practical and light from the window. They mix together, and that's the color temperature. Yes, maybe that's better. And I also have a key light, which is my trusty Nanlite 240C, although it is running at 19% power, because it is a bit closer than yesterday. So maybe I should lower this even more. I'm exposing with EL zones, so maybe that's better. There is still some highlight here, but I guess it's not that bad. There is some rim light from the light behind me. And the experiment for today is, can I swap this light? So can I swap the Nanlite 240 and Zhiyun Molus G300? And the question is, will the Molus be able to illuminate my face properly with 4 stops of ND? It is 300 watt fixture, but it got this max power mode, so we'll see. I measured the output of that light, and there is a chance it would be possible. So I want to try it, but the problem might be in the max mode. It might be too loud because it would be quite close to the mic. So that might be the problem. But first, let's see if it's possible to expose my face correctly with 4 stops of ND. So let me swap these 2 lights. Okay, so I have swapped the lights. They are not powered on yet. So the rim light is on, and I will start from the background light that might have different characteristic, because now it's the different temp. So let me dial the temp as it was, so mix of the window light and the practical. And now I have to adjust the power, and you can see that Nanlite 240C is more powerful. So I guess I have to dial this down to like 60%. And I think the sun intensifies. You can see on my face that I'm actually kind of lit by the sun. And now, since the background light is the panel, I don't have this rim / edge light here. So yeah, that's the bummer. But 5600 Kelvin, and again the sun intensified. So that might be not fair out. Then cover the blind to see if really this light is able to illuminate my face correctly. And this is 2x2 panel. It is almost 2x2. It is like 55 by 55 centimeters. I want to start from this panel, so it's okay. I know I can expose my face correctly with this panel, but what if I close the window? I will close the window first. So okay, now there is no light coming from the window. As you can see, I'm totally dark. The small problem might be that the other window is overexposed. So again, I'm exposing with the EL zones, and I'm running it at 23%, and it seems to be fine. Maybe actually the background light is too bright, so I tamed it down. So at 23%, it is possible to expose with Molus, although probably light is a bit harsher since the softbox is smaller and it is the source point of light with the panel. I got a diffusion and also built-in diffusion in the lenses, so this light might be harsher, although at 23% I'm able to expose my face correctly. So now I will add one stop of ND and see if it's still possible. It should be, because it's not running at even at half the power. And then I will change the modifier for the bigger one. That way might be the case that this would become softer than the panel. So let me swap the ND filter. So now I have 5 stops of ND, and now I think the window is not blown out anymore. It is bright, but the details shouldn't be lost, and I'm definitely too dark now. So I know that I can expose correctly with 5 stops of ND. I will swap the modifier and see if I can expose with the bigger one. Might not be possible. The problem is that hair light got quite loud because I'm now running it at 100%, and looks like the sun went on the clouds because the window is exposed differently, but this is just an experiment. I probably should run the panel at 100%, the panel in the background. So now it is at 100%, and that's the look. The key light is at 58%. So Molus G300 is able to expose my face correctly with 5 stops of ND, which is very surprising, although this is small modifier. So I will swap modifiers and see if it is possible to expose my face correctly with 90 centimeters light dome 3, I think. Yes, light dome 3. So let me swap the modifier. Okay, I swapped the modifier and now it's light dome 3. And I can definitely see that the exposure in the background dropped. So that means that the sun is under the clouds because the window is exposed slightly darker. And now I'm going to expose my face correctly, and it seems that with 5 stops of ND I'm able to do it. So now it is actually a bit better because it is the bigger modifier, so it is definitely, the look is definitely softer. It might be even softer than with panel, Nanlite panel. Hard to say, but it's definitely bigger, should be softer. So 5 stops of ND and I'm able to expose my face correctly with Molus G300, and it's not noisy. The noisy part is the hair light. And since actually the window is quite dark in the background, I can remove one stop of ND. And actually today my ND stops should be on point because I'm using MatteBox with IRNDs. But it all depends if they are correctly. So now the exposure of the window in the background is rather okay, although it's like a personal preference. So I'm running the light at 32%. At 5 stops of ND it was at 67. So now it's 32% and the exposure is correct. I'm quite surprised. I thought I would have to use the max mode. So I guess the max mode would be with 6 stops. So why not to test it? So I have also 2 stops ND, so I can mount it together with 4 stops and see. Of course, the exposure would be stupid in that case, but the question is, am I able to expose it? Like the probably exposure to the background would be not good because I cannot run the panel with higher setting, but it's just as an experiment's sake, because I don't know if the modes have linear dimming curve or it's logarithmic, parabolic or whatever. So it's hard to say that if I'm changing from 50 to 100 that would be double the output or not. So, and the easiest way to check it is to use the ND. So now I have 6 stops. You can definitely see that the window got really dark, the background light got really dark. I'm not sure I can see the headlight anymore. What about the key light? So I'm going to run it at 100%. And is it enough? Not really. It is like missing a tad, but it is running at 300 watt. So I'm going to turn on the max mode, and now it is brighter, but it changed the color temp. So I have to go here and change the back, and now it is ramping up the speed. So I bet it would be too loud. And yeah, I say that now it is exposed correctly based on the maybe even a bit overexposed because I got some highlights on my forehead. So it is running in max mode, so 500 watt, but it really got quite high output at this 500. It's almost as big as the Aputure 600D, and it is as big as advertised output of GVM 650B Pro. So actually it is quite powerful in this setting, but it is going to be much louder, I think. At the moment it is not that loud. I can hear it, not sure it's audible, and I'm usually using the voice isolation in DaVinci Resolve because I'm recording not in the ideal environments. But the conclusion is I'm able to expose my face correctly with 5 stops of ND with Molus G300. So I'm able to expose it correctly with 4 and 5 stops in a normal mode, which means it is silent mode. Is basically as silent as any other light I have, maybe except the Nanlite 240C because it is fanless. And something is ramping up. It's actually the headlight, so I can kill it. because I'm now testing the key light, and that would ramp down in a second, I think. Now it's off. Yeah. So I'm actually surprised, really surprised that G300 is silent in the max setting. It probably depends on the ambient temperature. I guess I will bring the sound meter to see. Of course, now the exposure of the whole frame is not that good because the background lights are not strong enough, but the experiment is to see if this light is able to expose my face correctly with 6 stops, and it is in the max mode, but I'm waiting for the fans to ramp up and I will get the sound meter. So I have a sound meter and I will check. The light is actually like 85 centimeters from my face, so it is as close as you can get. This Zhiyun Dome III with 1.1 stop diffusion. They say it's 1 stop. I'm not so sure. So I got sound meter. I have to be quiet and I will check what is the sound output. So as you can see, when there are no external noises, actually it is less than 35 decibels. This is 33 to 34 and a half, which is very quiet. And actually the meter is 70 centimeters from the light source from the face of the modifier, and now it ramped up. So yeah, after few minutes it ramped up. So it took it like at least 5 minutes. Yes, at least 5 minutes to ramp up to the higher setting of the fan, and now it is at 41 decibels, which is quite loud. It's not very loud. I can probably remove this with voice isolation in DaVinci. This might ramp up even higher, but the sound meter is 70 centimeters from the face of the modifier and probably around 1 meter from the fan. Both fans, so the ballast and the light fan, are behind the modifier, but there are some hard surfaces behind it, so there is definitely, the sound is definitely bounced from these surfaces. So it is not that it is like a very good environment. It is not sound treated, so maybe I will leave it at this setting and see if this is going any higher. Like, I will check after 10 minutes. I've been doing the test of this light and it was running for 2 hours and it went up to 48 decibels, I think. So let me see. If this will ramp up. But the conclusion is you can expose with the 6 stops of ND correctly. In terms of my face, the rest is not exposed correctly, but these are the other lights. So 6 stops of ND in max mode, 5 and 4 in normal mode, which is kinda impressive, I'd say. I was not expecting this. So yes, you can use it as a key light, even if you are fighting the window in the shot, like that one. Although it is quite cloudy today, but 6 stop is enough, even if it's sunny weather. So yeah, that's impressive. and it actually ramped down. So yeah, I will leave it for like an hour to see if this goes haywire, if this goes to 48, but I kind of doubt it, because it seems it goes between the low and medium setting, never goes too high. So it is actually a good thing. But if you got higher temps, higher ambient temp, that might actually go faster, so it would be louder. But with 4 and 5 stops, it is, I'd say, almost silent. It is quieter than any other light I have, except the fanless panel. So yeah, that's a really, really nice surprise. Okay, I have run Molus G300 for more than an hour already, and it's been running on the max setting with 100%. That's been running for 45 minutes at 5600 Kelvin, and it never ramped up to more than 42 decibels. So then I switched it to 4300 Kelvin. That's why now the white balance is wacky, because at 43 it runs all the diodes in the COB, and it's been running for half an hour like that, and it never ramped up to anything louder than 42 decibels. So I'm calling it quits, and I think it is the loudest it can get with this environment. It is 23.5 degrees Celsius in this room, so probably that's why. And I will check if this sound is really annoying. It is quite loud, I have to say, at 42 decibels. So might be the case that due to the loudness of the fan, you are not really able to expose with 6 stops of ND, but you can definitely do it with 5 stops and 4 stops, because then you don't have to use the max mode. Yeah, so I turn off the max mode, I fix the color temperature, and yes, after like 20 seconds it is back again to 34-35 decibels. So it is audible at normal, but I'm not sure how audible it is for this mic, and if that could be easily removed in post. Should be, because the speed of the fan is always constant, so that shouldn't be a problem. Let me check the files on my computer, and I guess that's it for today.